Om Sthapakaya ca dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Sthapakaya ca dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Avatara varishtaya Ramakrishna te namah. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic I have taken from Gospel, Disciplines of Vedanta. Spiritual life is the life of discipline. Spiritual life starts with discipline. To the extent we follow discipline properly, to that extent we reap the benefit of spiritual life. In Vedanta, the first discipline that is prescribed, Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka, that is, discriminate between the real and the unreal. Why we are suffering? Because of our clinging to the unreal things. Suffering is because we are groping in the dark. So, it means we need to discriminate properly. Man is expected to constantly discriminate. We are caught up in the unreal things of the world. So, we must begin with discrimination between the real and the unreal. Once you know a thing is unreal, we should discard it without any hesitation. We should not bother about the thing which is not real. That is a test of your conviction that you have discarded the unreal things. Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel about discrimination. It is the reasoning by which one knows that God alone is real and all else is unreal. What is the meaning of this? Real means eternal and unreal means impermanent. He who has acquired discrimination knows that God is the only substance and all else is non-existent. With the awakening of this spirit of discrimination, a person wants to know God. On the contrary, if a person loves the unreal, such things as creature comforts, name, fame, wealth, then it proves that he doesn't want to know God, who is of the very nature of reality. Through discrimination between the real and the unreal, one seeks to know God. And Sri Ramakrishna sings a song, "Come, let us go for a walk, O mind, to Kali, the wish-fulfilling tree." and there beneath it gather the four fruits of life. Of your two wives, dispassion and worldliness. Bring along dispassion only on your way to tree, and ask us some discrimination about the truth. By turning the mind within oneself, one acquires discrimination, and through discrimination one thinks of truth. Then the mind feels the desire to go for a walk to Kali, the wish-fulfilling tree. Reaching the tree, that is to say, going near to God, you can without any effort gather four fruits, namely dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Yes, after realizing God, one can also get, if one so desires, dharma, artha and kama, which are necessary for leading the worldly life. So, when a person turns his mind towards God and well established in the reality, then he feels this world is a field of joy. Why should you practice? Because God alone is enduring and everything else is impermanent, transitory. The world is not shunyam, but transitory. Buddha taught transitoriness of the world and added shunyam, null and void, which Vedanta does not accept. You cannot have anything that is null and void, pure nothingness. The fact is that reality itself must be studied in Vedanta. But you can't define that reality because you can't define God. God is the only reality. The Advaitins were bold philosophers. Sometimes perhaps they would be shivering in the cold Himalayas, but they would never give up the boldness of their thinking, their pursuit of truth. Nowadays there are bold people who pursue science. In earlier times, bold people called rishis pursued what is called spiritual science. They said there is only one ultimate reality which looks like something that is not true. The lowest grade of reality is called pratibhasika satya, apparent truth. To give an example, a mirage. The sun's rays fall slantingly on the road and you see a mirage. This is a very common experience in deserts. It's only hot sand in the sun, and from a distance it appears like water, a lake, a huge lake, and animals are deceived by that mirage. Man also is deceived, but he knows that it is not an oasis and comes back. He feels very thirsty and thinks that he can drink from the apparent lake and perhaps take some rest there. But after walking for 15 minutes, he sees that it is no nearer. It seems to be receding. So he realizes that it is a mirage. But animals, herds of cattle for instance, would die in their attempt to reach it. They don't know that it is only a mirage. Another instance of such reality is dream. You wake up and the apparent reality disappears. Such apparent reality appears as an unsubstantial, airy thing, a very subtle universe which entirely disappears. You do not even know that you are sleeping. See the fun of it. Only in the morning will you know that you are sleeping. The universe that we see is not much different. You can't say it is absolutely real, for elsewhere, where could it go when you were sleeping? You say it was there. How would you know unless somebody else told you that the lamp post was still there when you were sleeping? Vedantists call this relative, empirical reality, Vyavaharika Satya. One is Pratibhasika Satya, the second one is Vyavaharika Satya. Then there is absolute reality. Absolute reality, they say, is that which never changes. How do you know that it does not change? Our consciousness which records it doesn't change. I say that the real world disappears in dream. It didn't appear at all in any form. So I say it is relatively real. The Vedantic philosophers took the mind of man as waking and non-waking in all the 24 hours of the day. They did not confine their absolute state only to the waking hours. Waking consciousness disappears in dream. Another kind of consciousness sets in. The ego in the waking state is not the ego in the dream state. And the ego disappears in deep sleep and reappears in the morning. They say we should study all these states because the mind is like a prism through which you see the universe. The child sees the universe as very interesting. It doesn't know that nature can produce volcanoes and destroy the city in which it is staying. The little child is attracted by the colors of life. A grown-up man or an adult or a philosopher has a different vision because his mind has evolved. So the mind changes. The Indian thinkers observed. We should study the mind itself. When these Vedantic rishis studied the mind, they arrived at consciousness, waking consciousness and dream or sleep consciousness, from mind to consciousness. They said that this consciousness is relative only with respect to the state. In truth, this consciousness does not change. This stems from the idea that we always persist, that we cannot forget ourselves. Of course, we say we forget ourselves, but really we don't forget ourselves. We come back to ourselves. But there is a state in which you totally forget yourselves, transcend the ego, and you land up in the realm of infinity, the Absolute. The Absolute is pure consciousness. At the back of these three states of consciousness, there is a pure consciousness which links these three states together, enabling you to establish the identity of your personality in all the 24 hours of the day and night and throughout life. The Hindus say that this is the only reality which does not change. It is this I that doesn't change. When you study this universe, it is changing all the time. It is a distinction between these two that is called the discrimination between the real and the unreal. That's what Shankara said. To a devotee, God is sufficient. But the Vedantin seeks something more called the Nirguna Brahman. This analysis is important. Think what is real and what is unreal. And when you study it in this way, you find that the absolute reality is that consciousness which doesn't get negated or stultified. We can never think that we will become extinct. Even people who don't believe in God do not believe that they will vanish. The fact is that the dying man or the old man is afraid. They just do not know where they will go. That's why they stick to some discipline that will take them to heaven. A pious soul believes that every man goes somewhere after death and is afraid of going alone. Every man asks his relations to accompany him. Finally, he asks for the fruits of his good deeds. That is, he wants his karma to stand him in good stead so that he may go to heaven. But in Vedanta, you don't attach yourselves even to that. Heaven is transitory. in Shankara's philosophy. This is one of the paths, Advaita Vedanta. Realize that there is only one reality, the absolute reality. Everything else changes. What is this absolute reality? It is your own self. There is change everywhere else. The sun rising and setting, the moon waxing and waning, and the flowers, the meadows, the waters, the rivers all rising and dying and again rising and dying. Similarly, a mountain slowly crumbles into dust here and you get another mountain somewhere else. Now let us take a look at the internal world. Mind is constantly changing. The changing thing cannot understand another changing thing well. There is something permanent in man, his own consciousness, which registers the change in things. The unchanging consciousness, or the pure consciousness called Atman, helps him to register with the help of the mind. Think of this Atman as a permanent and think of the ever-changing universe on the other side. This is the discrimination between the real and the unreal. Next comes the ethical practice. The practice of ethical values and moral qualities. Shama, or control of mind. Dhamma, control of senses. Titiksha, endurance, and so on. All these things you have to practice. Suppose somebody calls you a fool, you should not be disturbed. This can be done with little endurance. The mind should bear hardships. Don't argue. That is another trouble. You start arguing and then go on arguing your whole life, wasting 2 hours every day in trying to prove that your stand was correct and the other man was wrong. Then comes Uparati, giving up the ceremonials. The householders practice several rituals, but a monist won't do that. The next is Samadhana, collectedness of mind. The mind is usually very heavy, that should go, and patience, endurance and collectedness of mind should remain. This brings us to Shraddha, an indispensable quality hailed by the scriptures. One should have this Shraddha or faith in God as also the Guru, the teacher who shows us the path of illumination and helps us find the ultimate and absolute reality. Sri Ramakrishna said in the Gospel, once Sri Ramchandra was pleased with prayer of Narad and told him to ask for a boon. Narad prayed for pure love and said further, O Rama, please grant me that I may not be deluded by thy world bewitching Maya. Sri Rama said, that's all right, but ask for something else. Narada replied, I don't want anything else. I pray only for pure love. How can a devotee attain such love? First, the company of holy men. That awakens Shraddha, faith in God. Then comes Nishtha, single-minded devotion to the ideal. In that stage, the devotee doesn't like to hear anything but talk about God. He performs only those acts that please God. After Nishtha comes Bhakti, devotion to God. Then comes Bhava, next Mahabhava, then Prema, and last of all the attainment of God Himself. Only for Ishvara Kotis, such as incarnations, is it possible to have Mahabhava or Prema. The knowledge of a worldly person, the knowledge of a devotee, and the knowledge of an incarnation are by no means of the same degree. The knowledge of a worldly person is like the light of an oil lamp, which shows only the inside of a room. Through such knowledge he eats and drinks, attends to household duties, protects his body, brings up his children, and so on. The knowledge of a devotee is like the light of the moon, which illumines objects both inside and outside a room. But such light doesn't enable him to see a distant or a very minute object. The knowledge of an incarnation of God He is like the light of the sun. Through that light, the incarnation sees everything, inside and outside, big and small. The mind of a worldly person is no doubt like muddy water, but it can be made clear by a purifying agent. Discrimination and renunciation are the purifying agent. Next comes karma. So, this is a very important discipline according to Shankara. Shankara says that karma is meant for the purification of mind. Chitta Shuddhi. Shuddhi is purity, purification of the mind stuff. And when the mind stuff is purified, it can be concentrated. Then work falls off by itself and we can stop work. This was the old ideology of monks. Swami Vivekananda modified this and said that you can't always meditate on God. Meditate as long as you can. The rest of the time can be spent in doing good to people who want education or food, so that you may thus become fit to give higher spiritual gifts. Spiritual gift is the highest gift. One cannot easily make a spiritual gift, although it is the greatest gift, no doubt. It is great to give alms to a man, but how can a man give that if he does not have anything to eat? So also, an illiterate man cannot educate the uneducated. Similarly, spiritually advanced people alone can make a spiritual gift, open the eyes of another man. This is mysticism. Sri Ramakrishna said in the Gospel, I used to weep with the name of the mother on my lips. Weeping, I said to her, O mother, protect me. Please make me stainless. Please see that my mind is not diverted from the real to the unreal. To the doctor, Sri Ramakrishna said, this attitude of yours is also very good. It is the attitude of a devotee, one who looks on God as his master. When a man develops pure sattva, he thinks only of God. He doesn't enjoy anything else. Some are born with pure sattva as a result of their prarabdha karma. Through unselfish action, one finally acquires pure sattva. Sattva mixed with rajas diverts the mind to various objects. From it springs the conceit of doing good to the world. To do good to the world is extremely difficult for such an insignificant creature as man. But there is no harm in doing good to others in an unselfish spirit. This is called unselfish action. It is highly beneficial for a person to try to perform such action. Through disinterested action, sattva mixed with rajas gradually turns into pure sattva. No sooner does a man develop pure sattva than he realizes God through his grace. Shankaracharya says that the practice of karma yoga in a spirit of selflessness is essential as a preliminary to higher meditation. But the Gita says, go on working because the energy is manifested in you. That is another viewpoint. Go on working selflessly without thinking of yourself like the Buddha. And then in the long run, you will get attuned to the divine will, and the divine will flows through you. Forget yourself completely. It's a marvelous stage, no doubt. Of course, both are essential. One should work and one should meditate. Be interested in God. Karma yoga to be practiced should be combined with the spiritual element of meditation. Karma yoga doesn't mean going on working mechanically. The two bullocks drawing a bullock cart are forced to carry as much weight as is put on the cart. This goes on until at last one bullock just lies down, unwilling to carry it further, and the other bullock cannot do anything because the bullock is already down. Then the man beats it, but its skin is thick, so it doesn't care for the beating. The more he tries, the more unwilling he becomes. See, this is life. Though man suffers, he goes on working. The other man clings to God. Whatever difficulties might come, even if you call him an idiot, he clings to God, that's all. He doesn't care. This man is a real karma yogi. He goes on working. A man like Mahatma Gandhi would say, when asked to go to a place just for visiting purposes, what shall I do by going there? My problem won't be solved, so I better stay here. He didn't care at all. The whole being of that type of man is absorbed, devoted, concentrated. That is real karma yoga. Realization doesn't come without a price. Very few mystics are fortunate to have that kind of reward. One has to hang on and don't come down. It is something like aspirants clinging to a wire which is attached to a post on one side and on the other end to the shaft of this portion of one's life. It is not a short wire, it's a very long wire, and the aspirant just clings to that. It goes on slowly to reach the other end. You see, it is easy to come to the shore of the ocean, but in it there are alligators, whales, sharks, all kinds of sea creatures. Even if a man tries, he may be lost in the ocean, but he doesn't come back to the world. World consciousness being there, it doesn't allow it to penetrate his heart. It just goes on clinging, and at last the dawn comes. This is the night, which the mystic speaks of as the dark night. But the darkness disappears in time, and the crimson hue of heavens heralds the morning sun. So, we should constantly dwell upon these ideas of discipline and practice them so that we come nearer to God. Page 892. Doctor said to his master, Master, do you explain it as the will of God? Master said, what else can it be? What can a man do before the will of God? Arjun said to Sri Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, I will not fight. It's impossible for me to kill my own kinsman. Sri Krishna replied, Arjun, you will have to fight. Your very nature will make you fight. Then Sri Krishna revealed to Arjun that all the men on the battlefield were already dead. Once some Sikhs came to the Kali temple of Dakshineshwar. They said, you see, the leaves of the Ashwatha tree are moving. That too is due to the will of God. Without His will, not even a leaf can move. Doctor said, if everything is done by the will of God, then why do you chatter? Why do you talk so much to bring knowledge to others? Master said, he remarks, he makes me talk. He makes me talk, therefore I talk. I am the machine and he is the operator. Referring to God. Doctor said, you say that you are the machine, that's all right. Or keep quiet, knowing that everything is God. He said to the doctor, whatever you may think, sir, the truth is that we act because He makes us act. Can anyone take a single step against the Almighty will? Doctor said, but God has given us free will. I can think of God or not, as I like. Girish said, you think of God or do some good work because you like to. Really, it is not you who do these things, but your liking of them that makes you do so. Doctor said, why should that be so? I do these things as my duty. Girish said, even then, it is because you like to do your duty. Doctor said, suppose a child is being burnt. From a sense of duty, I rush to save it. Girish said, you feel happy to save the child. Therefore you rush into the fire. It is your happiness that drives you to the action. A man eats opium being tempted by such relishes as puffed rice or fried potatoes. Laughter. Sri Ramakrishna said, a man must have some kind of faith before he undertakes a work. Further, he feels joy when he thinks of it. Only then does he set about performing the work. Suppose a jar of gold coins is hidden underground. First of all, a man must have faith that the jar of gold coins is there. He feels joy at the thought of the jar. Then he begins to dig. As he removes the earth, he hears a metallic sound that increases his joy. Next he sees a corner of the jar. That gives him more joy. Thus his joy is ever on the increase. Standing on the porch of the Kali temple, I have watched the ascetics preparing their smoke of hemp. I have seen their face beaming with joy in anticipation of the smoke. Doctor said, but take the case of fire. It gives both heat and light. The light no doubt illumines objects, but the heat burns the body. Likewise, it is not an unadulterated joy that one reaps from the performance of duty. Duty has its painful side too. Yam said to Girish, as the proverb goes, if the stomach gets food, then the back can bear a few blows from the host. There is joy in sorrow also. Girish said to the doctor, duty is dry. Doctor said, why so? Girish, then it is pleasant. All laugh. Yam said, again we come to the point that one likes opium for the sake of the relishes that are served with it. Girish said to the doctor, duty must be pleasure. Duty must be pleasant. Duty must be pleasant, or why do you perform it? Doctor said, the mind is inclined that way. Yam said to Girish, that wretched inclination draws the mind. If you speak of the compelling power of inclination, then where is free will? Doctor said, I don't say that the will is absolutely free. Suppose a cow is tied with a rope, she is free within the length of that rope. But when she feels the pull of the rope, Master said, Jadimalk also gave that illustration. To the younger Naren, Sri Ramakrishna said, is it mentioned in some English book? I'll stop here. Any questions about doing disciplines? You have to constantly discriminate what is real, what is unreal. So, that should, whole day you should have that analytical process going inside the mind. Because mind is so distracting and deceiving. It makes you involved in its activities. And just as fish is drawn by the bait, so also man is drawn by the pleasures of this world and get caught in the net of the world. So, karmanubandhini manushya loke, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, karmanubandhini, man is bound by actions. So he is tying himself with so many ropes by performing so many actions, not discriminating properly. In that way, he loses his true glory and he cannot escape sufferings, restlessness of the mind. So, one should really have discrimination and holy company. And you must watch your mind, how far you are coming closer to God. Whether you are coming closer to God or going away from God. That you have to find out yourself. You will be able to recognize only when you practice discrimination. Only when the discrimination is firmly established, then only you become more and more peaceful and happy. That's all. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name that bought for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass, be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day when an instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, and my heart burns with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stillest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good pervade all people, may the sovereign righteous rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the world be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the deciding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe being satisfied.